रिटर्न की दो डेफिनेशन है, वैलिड रिटर्न एंड रिटर्न, दोनों के अलग अलग कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस और बहुत सीरियस कॉन्सिक्वेंस। Here return means any return prescribed or otherwise required to be furnished by or under this act or rules made thereunder. Required to be furnished. This phrase is not defined. But anything that has to be furnished, that prescribed, has to be done on the recommendation of council through a notification. Act or rules you are supposed to give. So returns means any return. Securities shall have the same meaning as assigned to it in clause S section 2 of SEBI 1956. बहुत लंबी डेफिनेशन है सिक्योरिटीज की, we are not touching it because दिल्ली में इतना काम नहीं है इसका. Services, so remember goods, any property other than capital goods. So whenever you read the word goods in the act, always think it doesn't include capital goods. That's why capital goods are treated separate. Goods does not include capital goods. Capital goods की definition अलग है आपके पास. Services means anything other than goods. मैंने आपको कल बताया था कि जो भी पैसा आपके पास है सारा टैक्सेबल है until this exempted. Everything is taxable. And GST audits are always backward, not forward. Pick up your balance sheet, give your bank account. If I am the auditor, I'll do audit in 3 days. Complete. 3 दिन से ज्यादा नहीं. राहुल को बोलूंगा भैया जितने बैंक में पैसा डाला है सारे बैंक का उसका लिस्ट बना के दे. 500 करोड़ आपकी बैलेंस शीट 400 करोड़, 100 करोड़ का है. इंडिया डिफरेंस यू हैव टू रिकंसाइल. अब उसके बोलता है जी आपने एग्जम्पशन किस पे क्लेम किया, उसकी सारी लिस्ट है कि आपके 30% टर्नओवर इज एग्जाम टर्नओवर, व्हाट हैव यू सोल्ड एंड व्हाट हैव यू डन. Get the notification numbers. 5%, 18%, 20% I won't touch. आपको लाना. अगर आपने गवर्नमेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किए हैं आप कहते हैं 5% एग्जम्प्ट है, you will satisfy the condition. If not, chapter is closed. So therefore, whenever you file the return, do not file a return without a trial balance. There is a trial balance आपको लेना चाहिए. It's always safe. So that when you're filing a return of your client, you are very safe. At least whatever is given to you, you're doing your job. अगर आप ट्रायल बैलेंस देख के बिना उसकी फिगर पे हमारे बार में देखते हो ना, वो ऐसे कोई पर्ची निकालते हैं जेब में से, ये क्या है डोगरा साहब, रिमेंबर ना यार, उसकी रिटर्न भर गई, फिगर आ गई, कौन सी फिगर है, कहता मैंने इतना टैक्स देना है, मैं इसकी फिगर भर दूंगा. So without trial balance, I think trial balance is readily available and tell you whatever system you follow.
सर आपको वो भी नहीं सकता ना, फिगर आने से कुछ नहीं सकता, आपको पूरा GST एरवन चाहिए, 3B और 2B चाहिए तब होगा.
2B चाहिए, वो एक इनपुट टेस्ट की अलग इशू है.
रिटर्न ही नहीं जाएगी इसकी फिगर.
नहीं, वो एक अलग इशू. अगर आप सारा नंबर दोगे धंधा करें पैसे लेते हो उसमें आ जाएगा क्या? तेरे सारे क्लाइंट नंबर दोगे साले? अरे तो एक क्लाइंट नंबर रखते नहीं, मैं जानता हूँ तुम क्या करेगा तू? उसको जवाब दे सर, वो तो ट्रायल बैलेंस में आएगा ही नहीं. Sunil, it's not question how we do it. As professional, how we should do it. Easy way is a very dangerous way. At the end of the day, it goes to jail. जितने I'm sure उन्होंने शायद जानबूझकर चोरी नहीं की, हमें नहीं पता. But they did not exercise diligence while doing their work. मैंने देखा मेरे जब मैं बोलता था कि नंबर कोई आपको 1 लाख रुपए दे रहा है, क्यों दे रहा है भैया आपको 1 लाख रुपए? लोग तो फ्री में नंबर देते हैं. कि जितने सीएस के ऑफिस के थ्रू रिफंड गए हैं, दे आर अंडर इन्वेस्टिगेशन. गुड़गांव केस का ऑफशूट है. So service means anything other than goods, money, securities. Anything other than goods, money and securities are not a part of services. But includes Again, inclusive definition. Activities relating to use of money or its conversion by cash or by any other mode from one form currency or denomination to another form currency or denomination for which a separate consideration is charged. इस पे सर्कुलर आ गए तो इसमें कोई इतनी बड़ी अभी इतना झगड़े वाला काम फिलहाल नहीं है. Now come to 2117. बाकी कोई इतनी खास चीज नहीं है इसमें पढ़ने वाली. I told you there is another return. शायद आपने पहली बार देखा होगा रिटर्न की दो डेफिनेशन. और पहली बार देखा नहीं? पहले पढ़ा हुआ था? सुरेश ने? Well, self-assessed tax has been paid in full. Now, section 39 deals with filing of returns. अब ये क्या कहती है डेफिनेशन इसकी? Where self-assessed tax has been paid in full. For example, yesterday example, when you import material, you have bill of lading, you file bill of entry, self-assess it, pay the full duty. As per this is a valid return filed by you. Now supposing जो आपने self assessment आपकी की, उसमें आपने कहा कि मेरी 10 लाख की liability 10 लाख जमा करें. Can we add the word bona fide कि should be corrected? In J.K. Synthetics case in Supreme Court, the dispute was this: whether interest is leviable. Listen carefully. It's 95 STC 1110. The dispute was he filed a return where he did not show freight turnover as taxable, though it was taxable as per Anderson High Court judgment. उन्हीं की judgment थी J.K. Synthetics, associated cement. उसे return कर दी. The question before Supreme Court was, if he has paid the tax as per return, हमारे यहाँ उन्होंने बोला है self-assessed and tax paid in full. ये phrase वहाँ नहीं था. But this meant the same thing. Rules में था वो. यहाँ definition में है. There is a difference, something in rules, something in act, something in rule definition. Definition will always enjoy number one position. The definitions are followed by act and rules. Rules and act are not followed by definitions. It's a simple descending order. अब वहां सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला by a majority judgment, उन्हें बोला कि if self-assessed and assessed tax were always equal, तो assessing बात करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है आपको. Are you presuming and assessing to know what will assessing officer do to me? मेरा वो क्या रिजेक्ट करेगा, क्या मेरा क्लेम डिसअलाउ करेगा, हमें नहीं पता क्या करेगा वो. Therefore, say interest cannot be retrospectively levied. Interest can be levied from where you create additional demand and after giving mandatory time of 30 days or 60 days for recovery. That interest is paid. Last time I argued in this tribunal under VAT Act, lest we talk with the tribunal better it is, that they unfortunately agreed. We discussed with them. Does the import of section 42 subsection 2 of Daily VAT Act, does it mean that I should file the correct return, presuming that तो मेरी assessment होगी, मेरे सारे claim ठीक होंगे? Supposing at the time when you file return, certain item was declared taxable 5% by a judicial decision. By the time your assessed is overturned by Supreme Court, say 18%. Then can we say you filed a wrong return? No. So this valid return in section 39 means when you file a return and self-assessed tax has been paid in full, it definitely means that this return should be as per your business practices. It cannot be a return on hunch. आपकी टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ है, आपने कहा मेरी 10 लाख है, टैक्स दे दिया, मैंने सेल्फ असेस कर दिया. No. Only the legitimate claims which you are making, tomorrow those claims can be rejected. Those rejection of claims may not make the return wrong. But if at the threshold you filed a fraud return, बिल्कुल ही फ्रॉड की जो फिगर वाली कितना में रिटर्न भर दो, आपके इनकम टैक्स में सारे लोग करते हैं, कितना टैक्स देना है रिटर्न डालो, कहाँ टैक्स ऑडिट नहीं होता, ऐसे करते हैं ना. मेरा अपना ब्रदर है, वो भी ऐसे करते हैं. कहते हैं तो 10 लाख से नीचे गए, कहते हैं 2 लाख के पड़ते, 3 लाख के पड़ते, सिलाई दिखा दे, कपड़े सिलाते। एक केस में उसने कहा कि ये लेडी ट्यूशन पढ़ाती है। मैं कहा मैं इसको जानता हूँ तो पांचवी फेल है, ट्यूशन कैसे पढ़ाती है? वो जानता था। हमारे किसी ड्राइवर की बीवी थी, अशोक के ऑफिस के ड्राइवर की बीवी थी। अरे ये तो पांचवी पास है। कहते यार दिखा दिया, पांचवी क्लास किसे पढ़ाती?
How to fail after this?
The jokes apart, so therefore, when we say the self-assessed tax has been paid for full as per definition of valid return, this means your returns should be based on your books and accounts. It only means this. Your claims may be not legitimate, not correct, wrong. It's a self-assessment. Right? It's a self-assessment. On this we'll touch another point. Once you file a return, this is a self-assessment order. Our law says so. अगर आपको उस पर कुछ चेंज करना है तो लिमिटेशन है डिपार्टमेंट के लिए भी आप एक जजमेंट है स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया को नोट डाउन स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया बस स्टेट ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल उसमें इन्होंने बहुत अच्छी तरह डिफाइन किया था कि ये सेल्फ असेसमेंट क्या होती है. Taking the clue from VAT, read section 32. 32 is nothing but a reassessment. 32 is not a provision for assessment. When an officer assesses, he has original inherent jurisdiction as an assessing authority. He doesn't have to satisfy anything. He can do anything, whatever he wants. But once he crosses the stage of assessment, he comes into reassessment, then his jurisdiction is conditional. He has to satisfy any one of the conditions of section 32 before he issues you a notice under section 32 to reassess you. He cannot otherwise. So therefore, once you are doing a self-assessment, original assessment, you want to revise it, there are grounds for revision of returns. Otherwise you cannot. Are we clear? So return is totally different. Section 39 does not talk of return. It talks of valid return. Pick up section 39. Subject to provision section 37, 38, if any issue after submitting return in the section so and so discovers any omission or incorrect particular therein other than as a result of scrutiny, audit, etc., he shall rectify such omission or incorrect particular in the return to be furnished for the month of quarter during such omission or correct particular audit. Only under these circumstances you can revise it and rectify, not revise. There is no other ground for revision of returns. And you should not be under any scrutiny, audit, inspection or enforcement activity by the department. Provided, let me tell you the function of, there are two words used in Act, proviso and explanations. Explanation clarifies the substantive provision in a lucid language. An explanation cannot change the meaning of substantive provision. A proviso creates an exception. A proviso creates an exception to the main provision. Now, whenever you do proviso, you will always say it will talk different than what is said above. That is why they write it provided. आप ये कर सकते हैं, ये नहीं कर सकते. So, like in this 39, it says provided that no such rectification, omission, incorrect particular shall be allowed with the due date of furniture return for the month of September. This is the ground where Bharti Airtel lost 980 crores. The CA firm ruined them completely. In fact, they are thinking of suing them for damages. The CA firm. I know them. So, what does it mean for us? Limitations in GST law are sacrosanct. There is only condonation provision is under section 107. There is no provision for condonation or delay for any other activity. There also condonation is limited to 2 months. That is 2 months plus 2 months if delay is condoned. If you file appeal after 2 months with a condonation application, the delay is not condoned, your appeal is time barred. So you can go to higher authority to tribunal only to the extent whether condonation was rightly rejected or not. अगर 4 महीने में नहीं किया आपने, no court, even Supreme Court can give you relief. So Bharti Airtel case, वो कहते थे नया लॉ था, ये था, this is all stupid. In fact, he used to be a senior lawyer. You are raising a very flimsy and fallacious ground. So your client didn't know what service tax is. Your client didn't know what VAT was. You see your form nahi bana, wo nahi bana, what bakwas, no. So they have a judgment for it. So remember, whenever you file a return, you have to tell your client is a mistake, please come back immediately. And before you file annual return, somebody's annual return, right? Form 9.
Next December.
Is Form 9 or annual return? दोनों कटे जाते हैं?
Name is Form 9.
So you ask your client के बॉस कोई गलतियां तभी बताओ, वरना नहीं. Now suppose, let's extend this argument further. You are in an arbitration matter. The disputes are not settled. What do? You cannot do anything. Claim is gone. If for a particular rate, a particular area, your disputes are not settled this September, make an additional claim from towards the arbitrator. Everybody, this money also have lost. I cannot get it. If the transitional credit was not given to Bharti Airtel for 980 crores, only on this ground of procedure. The another important point why I want to highlight on section 39 dealing with valid return definition is limitations are of two types. Limitation is normally a law of procedure. Normally. But where the limitations are done to claim these kind of claims, these limitations have been held to be mandatory. If it was a limit, this point was taken before Supreme Court. It's a procedural law. No. You want money from the government. You want your money claims. You are not filing any appeal here. You are not filing any form. You want money to come into you. The law says claim this is. That is what the argument is, which we are discussing 16.2, 16.4 yesterday. If we might lose this, 16.4 shall prevail over 16.2. Because the law put a limitation. Same limitation, 39 के बस में December, December क्या हो गया? November. Works contract. This is another area where you will get lot of work in next 1 year. इनके ऑडिट चल रहे हैं बहुत जबरदस्त और सारे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स के और बेसिकली 80 चोर हैं, वो टैक्स वैक्स नहीं देते, गवर्नमेंट का काम करके भी टैक्स नहीं देते, टीडीएस क्लेम नहीं करते. तो टीडीएस करते हैं. हमारे यहाँ डिपार्टमेंट में मैंने कुछ लेक्चर दिया था, वो कहते हैं देखो हमारे पास 200 रिटर्न है, इतना टैक्स कटा है, ये रजिस्टर्ड ही नहीं. वो कहते हैं 2% ले लेना, बाकी छोड़ यार, बाकी तो हमारा पैसा है. They'll all come under fire now. First contract in the earlier regime was both movable and immovable. For example, car service was a first contract. In this law, we have not followed Article 366(29)(80). The definition of works contract has undergone a change. Now, this is only in relation to immovable property. When we do section 17, subsection 5, this definition will help you to understand it better. Works contract means, it's a means definition, a contract. Now, what is contract? Contract is not defined in the Act. So you have to go to section 4, Contract Act. Contract can be express or implied. Express contract when you execute the documents in writing. Implied when the circumstantial evidence shows that you had a contract. But normally in trade and commerce, contracts are written. Therefore, it is advisable to have a document executed as a contract. So, works contract is a contract. It means a contract for building, construction, fabrication, completion, erection, installation, fitting out, improvement, modification, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration or commissioning of any immovable property. What is any? Not residential or commercial. Any. Any immovable property. Immovable property is not defined. The general definition which is adopted in 3-4 Act is which is fastened to the earth and cannot be removed without damaging it. In general, this is the common parlance definition of immovable property. That is, supposing I create a hanger at the airport where I put up big angles of 20 inch, fasten them with the nut bolts, put a tin shed. Can I say this is removable? Answer is no. It's not, it can be detached and taken away. There's no issue at all. So it has to be fastened on the earth and you cannot remove unless the property is damaged. आज अगर बिल्डिंग तोड़नी है आपको, बिल्डिंग को उठा नहीं सकते ना कहीं से। ये फॉल सीलिंग उखाड़नी है आपको, नहीं उखाड़ सकते। ये पिलर उखाड़ने नहीं उखाड़ सकते, ये केबल उखाड़ सकते हैं। दिस नॉट इमूवेबल, राइट? So you have to be very careful for what is immovable. So this is ambiguous definition what we did yesterday. You have General Clauses Act, you have Possession Act, you have Transfer of Property Act, where these words are defined. We will do it when we come to section 17. But the important thing here is they talk of any immovable property. Cinema halls. Somebody had asked for an opinion recently in UP. इस सब मेरे को चेयर बिछाने का काम मिला है, 200 चेयर लगाना है सिनेमा हॉल। क्या होगा जी? मैं कहा तो आपको चेयर पे टैक्स देना है। ये कोई जमीन के अंदर तो ना कुछ चढ़ेगा उसको। पैंट लगाने जब वो उखाड़ लो, बिकती है सिनेमा हॉल, बिकते चेयर अलग से बिकती। Now supposing somebody has to put a screen, that shall be immovable. Screen can be removed without it being damaged. Carpets, अगर लूज कारपेट है वो निकाले जा सकते। इस तरह के कारपेट है you can't pick it up, they'll damage. So anything which is fastened to the earth and cannot be removed without getting is damaged, in generally saying absolutely, generally is taken to be immovable property. So these 12 activities are only works contracts. If your contract falls in any other word, in any other contract, there are, we will discuss them, इसके अलावा भी है, that shall not amount to works contract service. Works contract is a composite transaction of goods and services, or both. But in GST law, this has been declared as a service. You don't have to bother at all. It's a service. So classification dispute is not there. But before you apply that rate of service, it is your job to ensure this is a works contract. I've given you an example of putting chair. Well, ये 12% हो गया, इसको तो works contract है. I'm an officer, I say no, it's 28%. Suppose you give an advice without examining it carefully. Like suggestion Mr. Bhatia told us, and I always believe in this. Don't think you know it. We know nothing about law. Supreme Court has not known law for the last hundreds of years. They keep changing their judgments. So is what we should do. The more cases you do, the more knowledge you will acquire. कोई भी चीज़ है इसको पहले पैसे लेने ना आपको. Don't jump to get money. Let him go anywhere else. But you should sign a paper. You should sign. You should carry your stamp. Like if I am teaching you here, if I talk all bakwas, I'm not teaching to people who don't know law. So whenever you study something, you sign a paper, it must carry your stamp. The stamp is that you have done your job. It may be wrong, doesn't matter. You're lawyers. भगवान तो है नहीं हम लोग. पर ये नहीं कि वो उससे पूछा ये लिख दिया उससे पूछा. No, study it yourself. And take help if you want help. So works contract is an area which has been extremely litigant. It shall remain litigant. अब works contractor को define नहीं किया इन्होंने इसमें. There is no definition of contractor, subcontractor, awarder. किसी का कोई definition नहीं. It's only works contract. सो एम्प्लॉयर की क्या जिम्मेदारी है क्या नहीं है, वो सेक्शन 51 में टीडीएस के कुछ प्रोविजन और कुछ नहीं है, कोई डिडक्शन नहीं है। Except residential 1/3 land, there is no deduction. So works contract means when we do this, ये सारे वर्ड जो हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने डिफाइन किए हुए हैं। आई विल शो यू दैट पीपीटी है बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन फैब्रिकेशन। अब आपको पहले देखना है कि आपका इस जो भी एक्टिविटी आपका क्लाइंट करता है वो कौन सी कैटेगरी में आती है। अगर आपको उनका मतलब नहीं पता तो आप कैटेगरी डिसाइड कर ही नहीं सकते। You cannot. You have to fall in one of these 12 categories to be able to tell this is a works contract service. Otherwise you cannot. And of any property wherein transfer of property in goods is involved in the execution of such contract. Goods must be transferred. To do what? Towards construction, commissioning, etc. of immovable property. ये चार कंडीशन आपको सेटिस्फाई करनी है। कंपोजिट ट्रांजैक्शन हो, गुड सर्विस दोनों हो, एनी ऑफ दिस बार एक्टिविटी हो, इन रिलेशन ऑफ रियल प्रॉपर्टी हो और ट्रांसफर ऑफ गुड्स हो, एक्टिविटी हो, only then it can become a works contract. Are we clear? Shall we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
चाय पिला दो भाई, जवान साहब, तो हमारे समोसे आ जाएंगे। मंगाएंगे अभी? तो इकट्ठी मंगा लियो, 11:30 हो गए। पैसे वाला काम मेरे को मेरे फोन पे बता देता है। उसका जजमेंट और वो जजमेंट की डेफिनेशन अलग थी, लेकिन इसमें भी वो डेफिनेशन इवल प्रॉपर्टी यहाँ भी लागू है। ये तो कोई सारी जजमेंट है कौन एलिमेंट्स। ओके, वी आर टचिंग first section 9. We are away from definitions of CDST. We do section 9, 7 now, then we touch IGST definitions. We do first charging section, section 9. So remember, unless the levies are authorized by charging section, no tax can be collected. There's an article 245 Constitution of India. Government can collect tax what is due. The due means what is charged as per charging section. Section 9 is the charging section. Subject to provisions of subsection 2. So first read subsection 2. The central tax on the supply of petroleum, crude, high-speed, diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation petroleum shall be levied with effect such date as may be notified to the government. So petroleum products पे ये GST नहीं लगता. उसके C forms are continuing and they will continue. So subsection 1 is only subject to 2, not subject to subsection 3. So आपको इंटरप्ले 1 और 2 का देखना, 3 को आपको 1 के साथ नहीं पढ़ना, 3 का अलग स्कोप है। There shall be levied a tax called the Central Goods and Service Tax on all intrastate supplies of goods or services of both, except, except means exception, we did yesterday, unless or except, these were denote exceptions. Except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption on the web. तो stop here. सब पे टैक्स लगेगा, पेट्रोलियम में नहीं लगता। एंड पेट्रोल तब लगाएंगे जब वो डेट नोटिफाई करेंगे। That is, if today GST Council wants to put tax on petroleum, they can do. They don't have to go to Parliament for amendment. But if they want to put tax on alcoholic liquor, they have to go to Parliament. And demanding the main charging provision. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption. ये वर्ड कहीं किसी एक्ट में डिफाइन नहीं। एक्ट लिखो बिल्कुल वहां भी डिफाइन नहीं। हमारे यहाँ तो लोग जो लेबर क्लास है वो ठर्रा पीती है, स्प्रिट पीती है, डिनेचर्ड स्प्रिट पीती है, मरते हैं लोग साले, मर मर के पी के मरते हैं, पीते हैं। लेकिन shall we call them alcoholic liquor? So these are undefined phrases. We will touch them when we come to those classifications. So what is exempted is alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Industrial liquors are not exempted. Industrial liquors are used as chemicals in manufacturing of drugs and other products. They have no exemption under Section 9. They still continue to be taxable. So Section 9 exempts only one product, alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Right? On the value determined under Section 15 is the first ever charging section in any act I have ever read in my life where valuation itself is defined in charges section. कि जिस पे टैक्स लगना है उसकी वैल्यू सेक्शन 15 में डिसाइड होगी. I told you section 15 deals only with domestic goods. If you are importing goods, section 15 has no relevance, but that is decided by custom valuation. Section 4 at the section 14 Customs Act. तो सेक्शन 15 में उन्होंने लिख दिया है कि जो इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई, क्यों सेक्शन 15 लिखा है? इस इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई, इंपोर्ट्स आर इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाईज. That is how you to read this law. CGST cannot put tax on interstate transactions. The Daily Goods and Service Tax or CGST Act, they cannot put tax on interstate transactions. That's why they are using the word interstate supply. 15. At such rates not exceeding 20% as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council and collected in such manner as may be prescribed and shall be paid by taxable person. A lot of people ask me, sir, what is forward charge, what is reverse charge? Reverse charge is defined. Reverse charges are defined only for certain activities. Therefore, everything else in section 9 is forward charge. Forward charge is not defined anywhere. There is no word in forward charge here. जब आप अपने बिल पे टैक्स रेट चार्ज करते हैं, that is called forward charge. जब recipient को reverse charge देना है, that we call reverse charge. That is the phrase when the last 4 line, collected in such manner as may prescribed. The reverse charge has been prescribed in the act itself by the parliament and shall be paid by the taxable person. Subsection 2, subsection 3. The government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify categories of supply of goods or services, both tax on which shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of such goods or services or both, and all the provisions act shall be applicable to such recipient as if he is the person liable for paying the tax in relation to supply of such goods or services or both. Come to 298. I left it because we were doing section 9 first. 2 subsection 98. It defines what reverse charge means. Reverse charge means the liability to pay tax by the recipient. That is, if some activities under 9(3) have been notified to be taxable under RCM basis, the supplier has no liability whatsoever. He can never be called upon to pay. The definition puts a liability on the recipient, not on the supplier. We are not bothered. कर ना कर भाड़ में जाए, हमारा कोई रहता है. If an advocate has released the bill when somebody is to pay reverse charge, I am not bothered. अगर जहाँ recipient नहीं लिखा होता, तो debatable issue बन जाता. इस एक्ट में both supplier recipient can be called upon to pay tax in services. So reverse charge, the definition says, means the liability to pay tax on by the recipient of supply goods and both instead of supplier of such goods or services and so on and so. That's why I will not do definition when we're finishing it. So what is reverse charge? If you see the input text definition, it includes reverse charge. Let's repeat it. Reverse charge में government को बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. It's a win-win situation for the government. एडवोकेट से टैक्स लेना बड़ा मुश्किल था. जो सर्विसेज से टैक्स पेमेंट की उसको तो देना है. And there are many people who may not get input tax credit for reverse charge. Supposing you are doing exempt supplies, you are hiring a lawyer, तो आपको रिवर्स चार्ज का मिलना है ना, क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. Therefore, चाहे से ट्रांसपोर्टेशन रिवर्स चार्ज और जितने भी नोटिफिकेशन है इसके ऊपर, उसमें you have to examine carefully That is when you file a return of your client. If you have the trial balance with you, you can always make out whether there was a reverse charge liability. जो आप लोग नहीं देखते, तभी ऑडिट वाले अपना बकवास करते हैं. सीधा देख लो ट्रांसपोर्ट लॉयर फी जो 5-6 चीजें ट्रायल बैलेंस पे है या नहीं. लॉ में लिखे रिवर्स चार्ज दिए, दे के वापस लेना है ना, पर यू विल बी कंप्लाइंग विद द लॉ. इफ यू डू नॉट, then these mistakes can be very fatal.
So then you should hire lawyers like me who actually are on the forward charge.
Not like you. किसी हैंडसम लॉयर को भी रखना नहीं चाहिए. वो बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है.
Service tax
अब टाई शर्ट पहन के आएगा तो क्लाइंट कहेगा भाई साहब हम टाई हम तो धोती पहनने वाले लोग हैं, बहुत पैसे मांगेगा. और तू ऐसी खूबसूरत औरतों के पैरी हाथ तेरे को ला रखेगा कौन? ऐसे सारे एवरीबॉडी वाज शॉक्ड का पैसे कर रहा था. सॉरी फ्लाइट मोमेंट. We will not do 4, 5. We'll skip. So remember, the function of charging section is it authorizes levy of tax in any form. अगर रिवर्स चार्ज 9(3) में नहीं होता तो बाय डेफिनेशन रिवर्स चार्ज नहीं लग सकता. रिवर्स चार्ज की डेफिनेशन तो है. अगर सेक्शन 9(3) में उसकी लेवी नहीं होती तो गवर्नमेंट कुड हैव नेवर लेविड रिवर्स चार्ज. दैट इज द चार्जिंग सेक्शन. So wherever you want to exact by force of law an amount from a citizen, this tax, and that tax levy should be authorized by the appropriate legislature, parliament or state assembly. So अगर 9(3) नहीं होता, जैसे 9(4) था, एडवांस पे कुछ होता था तमाशा आपका, 9(4) डेफर किया उन्होंने, because they could not handle it, right? So unless 93 were there, by definition itself, there was no reverse charge levy. Levy is there because 9(3) authorizes such levy. चलो. बड़े खुशी हो लोग जान छुट्टी.
आ जाओ.
जान छुट्टी.
अटेंडेंस शीट है ना किसी के पास, वो दे देना.
अभिषेक
और जैसे अटेंडेंस ले
Can you wait for a minute? आ जाओ यार. Well, friends, we have a very dear leading scholar in this country, Abhishek Rajaram. He runs the show on GST. He writes books. He's a very beauty gentleman, very unlike me, very beautiful person, and he is also attending. So that means he still wants to gain more knowledge. For knowledge, he wants more power. Let's give him a big round of applause. चाय के 5 मिनट है जी, पीने बराबर पी लो. 5-10 मिनट एट बेस्ट. सेक्शन 7 खत्म करना है, पूरा आईजीएसटी डेफिनेशन खत्म करनी है.